Greetings Sentinels fans! We're going back into the guide for the OblivAeon scenario, this time going into specifics about the phases and the shields. But first, self-promotion! I'm putting these videos on a Steam guide since I'm giving actual advice instead of just making discussion. If you could do me a solid and poke that review button, it will make this guide a bit easier to find for future players. Now, boring stuff out of the way, let's discuss. In a game of Sentinels, you have a lot of freedom when it comes to short-term thinking and long-term thinking. However, you need to be really good at both if you want to excel here. You almost need to have some kind of plan, but have enough wiggle room to improvise. The preferred and probably intended macro strategy is to take the fight to OblivAeon. After all, taking his first two phases out on your terms makes things easier by giving you card draws and removing devastation tokens. The other macro strategy is to turtle up. After all, this gives you 18 rounds to prepare for and knock out phase 3. That's a lot of missions to accomplish, and a lot of scions to remove. However, a few things to note about this first. First, OblivAeon is, as I've said before, not always cooperative. He is capable of pulling some BS on a moment's notice. Huddling up and letting him hit you isn't always going to work. Second, you still need to deal with the shield. You have to at least damage OblivAeon on his third phase, and that means you have to flip the shield. You don't need to get rid of it, but you need to flip it at least. Third, if turtling up is what you're going for, you aren't giving yourself a lot of room for error. If you allow the countdown to go down twice, you're allowing 2 environments to go, meaning you have to at least prevent OblivAeon from accumulating 24 devastation tokens. And it is so easy for them to show up. You can fight the scions to reduce the tokens, but it's still a lot to deal with. My personal preference is somewhere between the two. I like to take the fight to OblivAeon, but if I'm not killing the shield or dealing a lot of damage, then I find it more productive to target a scion or try to complete a mission. And now it's nitty-gritty time. Let's talk phase 1 and the shields. OblivAeon in phase 1 is pretty much at his most obviously destructive. He gets a damage boost to all his attacks based on the amount of heroes you brought, so even his simple attacks can deal tons of damage. He gets a baseline area attack, automatically summons 3 Aeon men in the other battle zone, and automatically destroys all Aeon men in his current battle zone. I don't think I need to tell you that this can be a problem, because he could at some point jump to the other battle zone, eat the Aeon men, and then calamity ensues. He will also instantly replace any scions taken out in this phase. This is the phase where you will lose heroes most quickly, as both battle zones will always have scions unless you've been really vindictive about hunting them, and OblivAeon's attacks will take large chunks of hero health. However, if you get rid of the shield, OblivAeon will go right to his next phase. As stated in my first video, OblivAeon has 5 shields, and you can choose which one to deal with. I'll start with the easiest one, the orange shield. The primary objective is the shield I encourage new players to use, since it asks you to do what you should be doing regardless, going after missions. Flip 2 to 4 mission cards and get the rewards, and the shield card flips over. After that, OblivAeon is given 2 damage reduction from all sources, and the shield asks you to deal 5 damage to him in 1 hero turn. This can easily be done with Chekhov's hairdryer, hero effects that cause irreducible damage, or simply using damage boosts and powerful one-shots. The eagle-eyed among you will note that it only wants 5 damage in 1 turn. That damage doesn't have to come from 1 attack, or even 1 hero. You can use incapacitated abilities to make other heroes deal damage, and it will still count as being done on your turn. So yay, 5 damage, shield's gone, next phase. The only issue with it is dealing with Void Soul, but Void Soul as a general rule is like middling threat level. The next easiest shield, in my opinion, is Arc of Unreality, the purple shield. It summons Progeny, possibly the most directly concerning scion aside from Voss, but it is very easy to get this shield to flip. Just move a hero into OblivAeon's battle zone a bunch of times. The main man will deal them damage when they do so, but it's easy to control. And unlike the other shields, you don't need to rely on OblivAeon's cooperation. With planning, OblivAeon won't be able to stop you from flipping the shield. The reverse side is a bit more complicated. On that side, you need to have 3 environment cards active in that battle zone at the end of OblivAeon's turn, but the shield itself will destroy environment cards at the start of his turn. You can pay 2 hero cards to stop the destruction, but that can sometimes get expensive. Use heroes with good card draw, effect second play environment cards, or select environments that don't destroy their own cards, play extra cards, or are otherwise easy to defend. Next we go to the red shield, Effusion of Pain. Of all the shields, I find this one the trolliest. It requires a lot of cooperation from OblivAeon. The shield causes him to jump to the other battle zone, and make the hero targets there hurt themselves. If enough targets are hit by it, then he flips. On some occasions, this can actually cause a turn 1 flip if his card play makes him jump to the other battle zone before he jumps back. This can be incredibly convenient. However, it's more likely that he will be a jerk and jump to the wrong zone. Scions can play cards to move him to the wrong zone, or the guy himself can do it. Or, he just kills your heroes before he jumps. Now you can counter this by bloating your hero target count. Get reward heroes, or heroes with extra targets. Get enough targets, keep them alive after his attacks, bada bing, bada boom. Now this shield's flip side is sarcastically easy to accomplish, but also kinda cruel. At the start of OblivAeon's turn, instantly incapacitate all heroes in that battle zone. And if you took out any, remove the shield. Insta-murder! More quicker, no refunds. And he is going to be a troll and jump to the wrong battle zone and kill the heroes you like instead of the ones you are willing to sacrifice. Another consideration is that this shield summons Boar the Unstable. Boar is an interesting scion, who I probably should have mentioned in my previous video. Essentially, he can be a huge problem, but also a huge asset. If you kill him quickly, he won't hurt that much. Take your time, and he will build up some major firepower that will hurt you, but also the bad guys. Letting him be your personal time bomb can be an effective sacrifice play, but he also deals a lot of damage until we get there. Then we have the green shield, Ceaseless Ruin. This one is fairly simple to flip as well. You just need to have a few cards in that battle zone's trash. Once it is flipped, it becomes a bit more difficult to deal with because, like Effusion of Pain, you have to rely on OblivAeon's cooperation. He deals targets in his battle zone some damage, and you have to let that attack hit a certain amount of hero targets, one for each hero turn. This means you have to rely on OblivAeon being predictable, and not hopping around to inconvenient parts of the field. You can have all your heroes in one zone ready for the hit, but OblivAeon or a Scion might decide to play a card that makes him move to the other zone, in which case he hits the empty zone, presumably say in the Space God version of Neener 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 while doing so. Now you can cheat this by simply making more hero targets. If both battle zones have the required targets, then you neatly bypass that drawback. Set up Unity or Cosmic or Luminary or Akash, and you can roll with it. Again, take care you don't lose heroes when doing this. You can also use reward heroes for this purpose. Also, beware using damage reduction while fighting this shield, as 1 point of damage reduction can make things very inconvenient. The shield does have one extra little problem where it summons Nixius the Overeager to the first battle zone. Nixius flips to his aggravating flip side when he is in the same battle zone as OblivAeon, so if he starts in the first battle zone, it makes it that much more likely that he will be there by the time it gets to the Scion turns. So you will very likely be facing a flipped Nixius the Baby Cthulhu at the start. Try not to get swamped in devastation tokens too quickly. It would probably do you good to ignore him until you can nuke him in 1 or 2 turns. Then you have the blue shield, the Source of Foes. In order to flip this one, you have to destroy 4 Aeon Men in a single hero turn. This can be complicated, partially due to Aeon Master, which this shield summons. As normal, OblivAeon summons 3 Aeon Men in the other zone, and the shield plays an Aeon Man in his current zone. You can speed things up by hitting Aeon Master once a turn to summon extra Aeon Men to kill. However, it should be noted that if you don't kill those 4 Aeon Men, and Aeon Master is there, then Aeon Master becomes a problem. If 2 to 4 Aeon Men are in play in his battle zone, he flips to his reverse side. The bottom side of Aeon Master is actually kinda scary. Another thing to consider. If you are in phase 1, OblivAeon destroys all Aeon Men in his battle zone. So you pretty much need to force Aeon Men into play, prevent OblivAeon from destroying Aeon Men, or kill Aeon Men before he can, and pray to a higher power that OblivAeon cooperates with your plan and either doesn't shift battle zones, or just reaches out to rip them up from across space. But if you can get enough Aeon Men into play, I recommend having a hero with good area of effect attacks last in the turn order, to give your other heroes time to weaken the Aeon Men to make that big attack possible. Once successful, the shield flips, and you get a much easier backside. Just remove all the Aeon Men, which is easily accomplished by killing Aeon Master, so don't kill him before the shield flips. Once you flip or eliminate whatever shield you got, you can deal with phase 2. This is OblivAeon at his most simple, and most fun in my opinion. Instead of focusing on his grand plan, the big guy is now getting more directly involved. If any battle zone is missing Scions, then he will summon more on his turn, so it is safe to do marginal amounts of Scion murder. He loses his damage boost, but is now a target. This is the OblivAeon event at its most fighty. Characters are coming in from all over and taking the fight to OblivAeon. You as players have to churn through 180 hit points, and the big guy is attacking everyone in his zone. However, You have to be careful if you plan on cheesing him here, since if he fails to damage any heroes with the attack on his character card, then he adds a whole bunch of devastation tokens to the track. This is the part where you have to manage your turns a bit, between attacking the big guy, protecting your heroes, accomplishing missions, and fighting scions. Aside from the beware the invincibility cheese, I don't really have much advice for this particular phase. Just use whatever you've got that has a high damage output. Check your tools, check your incapacitation abilities, check your heroes, check your rewards, and see what gets a lot of damage done. And of course, we have the final phase. Whether you are turtling up or not, you have to do this one. 120 points of damage to deal, no damage boosts, smaller amounts of individual damage, but every single hero turn spent in this battle zone makes him play a card from his deck. So while he is dealing less damage, he is more dangerous because he can end up playing a ton of cards, including ones that add free tokens or speed up the countdown. If you spend a turn in the other battle zone, then he doesn't play a card. That combined with the fact that he no longer automatically summons scions might make it a good time to do scion hunting, or just spend a turn in the other zone to set up your heroes. You can even yank the big guy around the zones of your choosing, as he jumps to the zone with the most heroes in it. What's more, damage reduction suddenly becomes very effective, as all his attacks are usually around 2 points of damage. At this phase, the greatest danger is the devastation tokens and the countdown, usually brought upon by card plays. One of the most effective counters to OblivAeon in this stage is to use effects that prevent villain card plays. Takedown, Grasping Shadowcloth, Mistbound, so much you can do that will just shut him down. Oh, that might have been what they were doing in the lore. The 3 legacies were just spamming Takedown. Now if you kill the hit points but Reynek Kel'Vas is still around, then he jumps in and steals OblivAeon's power and begins the Secret Phase 4. And I will level with you, I don't have much experience with this phase. My usual strategy is to avoid it from happening in the first place, so that means either preventing Voss from showing up, or killing him as quickly as I can. But if he arrives and you can't dredge up enough irreducible damage, then you will need to deal with him. Things change when Phase 4 begins. You no longer are able to replace your lost heroes. If your heroes are taken out, you are done. Game over. The countdown no longer counts down, but the devastation tokens still work. So you still need to worry about destroyed environments. He also deals a ton of damage by manipulating the environments. When an environment target shows up, they freak out on everything around, and Voss also deals lots of damage on his turn. My advice? Damage blitz. Pour on as much damage as you can, as quickly as you can. He has no more hit points than Matriarch, and your heroes likely have lots of incaps and rewards by this point, so it's certainly doable. If you don't give him time to act, then you can take him out quickly. Some players consider Voss to be a victory lap after dealing with OblivAeon, since by then you are so built up that they can do tons of damage in a short amount of time. I usually struggle a bit more, but by that point I usually want to take my time. And those are the phases and shields of OblivAeon. I hope this guide proves helpful to you. Once again, you could probably check the comments to see if there are any tips and tricks that I didn't think of. Take care, friends. And reorder this shield to 3rd in the line. Reorder this next shield to the end. Alright, editor person,